We took a friendship loyalty test, and this was the hilarious result. So I have this group of really good friends. We were all hanging out in my backyard, and I was like, hey guys, let's do a fun little experiment. So we all agreed to set up little traps for each other to see if we would be too loyal for our own good. Like one of my friends asked, would you tell me if I had food on my face? And I said yes. So then they sat really close behind me and started feeding me fries. I didn't notice at first because they were being so quiet. But when I finally looked around, they were all staring at me with these big grins on their faces. I was like, oh, you guys got me. But then I realized I actually did have a fry on my face, so I guess that means I failed the test. But then they all started confessing things that they VA done that I probably wouldn't want to hear. One of my friends was like, well, I took your fries without asking, and I was like, wait, what? You took my food and I didn't even notice? They were like, yeah, and not only that, but I ate half of your fries before you came over here. I was shocked. It's like, I can forgive them for eating some of my fries, but lying to me about it, that's where I draw the line. And then they all started laughing, and I was like, oh, you guys are such jerks. I can't believe you did that to me. But then I realized something. Being loyal doesn't mean that you're perfect and you never mess up. It means that you try your best and you're there for each other. Yeah, they stole my fries, but they're still my friends. And you know what? We were all laughing about it, so I decided to give them all another chance at the test. I was like, all right, round 2, let's go. So we all thought really hard about what kind of traps we could set for each other. And this time they were even more ridiculous than the last. Like one of my friends asked, would you stop talking to me if I told you that I love you? And I was like, no, obviously not. What? And then they were like, well, just to be sure, you would still be my friend even if I told you I love you. And I was like, yeah, but why are you asking me this? They were like, I just want to make sure. I was like, okay, I would still be your friend. But please don't ever say that again. It creeps me out. Then another one of my friends asked, would you tell me if my breath smelled bad? I was like, yeah. But they were like right now? I was like, yeah, like right now. They were like, okay, well, then you have to promise not to be offended. And I was like, okay, I promise. Then they leaned really close to me and started whispering, my breath is stinky. And I was like, oh my gosh, your breath does stink. They were like, really? I can't smell it, can you? And I was like, yeah, a little bit. Then they were like, good. Now you have to prove your loyalty by doing something for me. And I was like, what? No. This isn't how the test works. I already proved my loyalty. They were like, nope, you have to earn it back. And then they started tickling me. I was like, no, stop. And then they were like, all right, now you're free. And I was like, that wasn't very nice. So then we kept going back and forth like that until the end of the test. And it was so much fun. We all failed the test, but passed the vibe check.